grew up locally in the area. Now I do investments for people. So I get into people's personal lives all the time and learn all about very successful, interesting business people now and manage their assets and manage their money and give them my strategies around estate planning and taxes and investments. So kind of run the gamut of that. And then, you know, pretty easygoing guy. Kang's known me for a long time, so I read a lot. I like to work out. So those are kind of the two things I do quite a bit of. I'm sure you could fill people in, Kang, when we
Yeah,
talk.
yeah, definitely. So the reason why I want to sit down with Cole specifically is because not only am I very comfortable with him, I have a great relationship with him, but in a lot of ways we're very different too. And but there's a lot of value, and I really respect the way you live, and I think you have a lot of knowledge and about things that people don't have knowledge about, but which is very vital to your life. I know we're getting eaten alive. It's like I see all these bugs, right? But yeah, talking with finance and stuff like that, right? But before all of that, right? What do you what do you like to do for fun, bro? Tell me a little bit about your personal life. I know you talked about exercising and everything, but go down a little deeper.
I mean, personal life, traveling. I think now that I'm in a spot in life where I have enough, disposable income, I trying to get out and travel. I kind of did the opposite of what you did. So bookworm and studied a lot early on, and then didn't do a ton of traveling. Kind of sacrificed that early period, and then now I'm like, oh, okay, I have money now. I could start to travel. So traveling more is kind of high on the agenda.
And it was
Um,
traveling always a priority, even when you were in the grind of like building disposable income?
I think at some point, because like my mom was a pretty active traveler, and
Oh, was she?
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
she for her probably the first half of her career, she traveled for work. Like that's just what they did. Her job. She was all over the country, and then she actually lived internationally too in Africa. So,
In Africa? I
yeah,
have never known this. What
yeah,
part?
in Kenya. Yeah,
Kenya.
yeah. She lived in Kenya for like a year.
Oh, so we shouldn't be complaining about these flies and gnats right now.
Yeah, no, no, yeah. There's like Kenya in the '80s too. So
Oh God, that's
probably like
crazy.
totally different than it is today even.
You're
So,
right.
but yeah, I mean like traveling. I'm pretty active. I like to work out and stuff, so I'm, pretty active lifestyle. I like going out, just going to the beach, going on hikes. I like just being out in nature.
Cool. You're in a very I wouldn't call this a unique industry because it's finance is very common, right? But there's like a I feel like a universal ignorance towards finance. Would you say?
Well, I just think it's a kind of a boring subject for a lot of people. It seems like,
But it's important.
yeah, it's really important. I definitely think like knowing your personal finances is super integral, but it's a lot of they've kind of made the industry complicated on purpose, I think, because it keeps people from, knowing how to avoid taxes and certain things. It's all based around taxes, a lot of it.
Right.
And then the investment side is anyone can get and do it, but, there's professional investors and then there's just people that just try and buy stuff and they're kind of, you know, lunch for the sharks
Yeah, yeah.
essentially, So it's all a big game in a way.
To make more money.
Yeah, well, again, it's like it's you versus someone else in a sense. I
Right.
mean, you're betting on some long-term view of some company depending on the type of investor you are, but also if you're just speculating, trading, that's just like it's just a gamble in a sense, but it's
Right.
also like an educated gamble.
Right.
So certain people can give themselves edges and other people they just wing it. I think the learning curve to get into trading is like quite high. It's like
Okay.
expensive and
Yeah.
a lot of trial and error. So,
We'll get into trading, but I
yeah.
want to start even more foundational, fundamental before that,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So, like you said, it's interesting how you said, we kind of started something different, the opposite, right? I
Yeah.
kind of went traveling first, you kind of built up your foundation. And then, so in order to fund your traveling and all that, which is great, right? So, if someone who's like in their early 20s, right? Or even yourself, right? Right now, you're in your early 30s. You've accomplished a lot for yourself, and I think you've done it correctly. And I really respect you for that. If you can tell someone, just a general person in their 20s, obviously they want to make money, they have big dreams, big aspirations. What do you think is the first thing about the mentality towards money and finance that they should try to kind of gravitate towards, or at least adapt?
Well, I think it's definitely a time game in a sense. So everyone, especially with social media, they like want to get everything quickly, and then they're constantly saturated with like all this money all the time. They think everyone is just super rich.
Right.
Even all the people they see, they think, oh yeah, this guy's saying he does all this stuff, but reality, probably not. Probably
Right.
there's a very small percentage of them that are actually doing, super crazy stuff.
How do you feel about social media? It's funny because like I love that you're doing this with me because this is not something that you typically do.
Yeah.
Did you ever kind of get caught up in the keeping up with the Joneses, like seeing the you know what I mean, like this 18-year-old streamers making multi-millions?
I mean, it's definitely interesting. I think it's just there's a million ways to make money. To me, social media it's like an avenue to reach way more people than you would have normally reached. Like you could be a great wealth manager in a local area, but if you start to build a brand like Jim Cramer, make fun of him all you want, everyone knows who that guy is, whether you hate him or love him. So sometimes bad attention is good for business.
Right.
So it's like,
Traffic is traffic.
yeah. So I mean, I think you just have to look at it today like, hey, this is a global world. Like even today, like I work with investors internationally, so money, it just speaks green. It doesn't really, and it's going to be able to transfer between countries. I think even easier in the future. So social media is just a bridge in
Right.
my view. So it's like if you're not doing anything on it, it's kind of like either you've hit it big in your own niche and you don't need to do it,
Yeah,
or
right.
it's just like maybe you should, because it's just like in the future there's going to be robots that are going to be capable of doing what we do. So
Right.
you better build some personal brand or some ability to draw attention.
Right.
Because
So you find it to be extremely important.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I
it's a
think
great resource, I think,
yeah,
right? You just can't get lost, can't get consumed by it.
yeah.
Doom
Those people
scrolling.
that started early on, I mean, great, good on them. I mean, it was like right place, right time. A lot of times, it's just some people that got rich and famous early on. So I think
Right.
it's just there's so many types of content creators. So it's like you could just be melting people's minds with nonsense, or you can be,
Yeah.
you know,
That's what I'm saying. And that's a slippery slope, right? I
Yeah.
think in one aspect, it could be very self-serving. It could be very narcissistic to a degree, where you have your own page and your own highlight reel. It's like, yo, look at me. Or it can be a great resource to connect and have more influence and find, you know what I mean, reach more people that you wouldn't traditionally be able to reach. You know what I'm saying? And have
Right.
better conversations and meet with better people.
Oh, totally.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, just it opens up, your ability to connect with way more people. Even if you're just giving out free game or whatever, like if you have some sort of skill set and you can just share that with some people on social media, a lot of people don't know, especially like in my business, a lot of people don't know anything about
Right.
investments
Right.
and state planning, taxes, all that stuff. So, there's a lot of ability to share it, but there's also a lot of people creating similar content. So
Right.
it's like, you just have to, I think, if you feel like it's going to be a valuable use of your time, then do it. And
Yeah.
again, like there's a million ways to go with social media.
Yeah.
So
So, going back to like the 20-year-old or 22-year-old, I guess, who just finished their undergrad, if they went to college or not went to college. So I think I'm going to speak on a general sense, right? And like maybe you can give some advice like of how maybe someone who wants to prosper at that age, what they should do. I think the average person at like 22-year-old, right? They have a degree, they start applying maybe an internship before they graduate, get a little bit of experience, and then they go out an entry-level job, entry-level position in a company or something like that, right? So all they can really think about with money is earn, save, lifestyle, and spend, right? Between that, what do you think would be the first little maybe building blocks of building wealth? Because right, wealth is long term, rich is tomorrow, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, definitely a difference between being rich and being wealthy. It's like a mindset difference, I think.
Can you talk about that? From your experience, what is the difference?
I mean, like being rich is like you can get money quickly by hitting it big on a trade, or you win the lottery, or you made some big deal quickly. You sold a bunch of houses right away, But staying wealthy is a mindset of like I gotta invest like I gotta take these assets that I have now, this cash flow, and I gotta reinvest it into other assets that are gonna grow,
Right.
and then I gotta instill this same mindset of investing and being aware of taxes and being aware of like all the liabilities
Right.
that are in the world to get you to take your money. Because once you have money, it's like the government's trying to take your money, other people are trying to take your money. Your business partner might try and take your money.
Yeah.
Like it's just trying to protect what you've created. And I think that's the mindset shift when you're wealthy. It's like you have to then figure out, how to keep that and also instill it into your kids. And because I see this all the time in finance where some person like the grandparent created this amazing business, sold it for a lot of money. 2 generations in, these people have never worked their whole lives,
Fuck it off.
and they're just that's gonna be probably the last generation of
Right.
the money, so
Yeah, it's funny, they say, like difficult times make tough people, right? Tough people make easy times, and easy times create weak people. So a lot of times the tough individuals create this easy lifestyle with,
Yeah.
amass this huge fortune, and the next generation under them, they don't know any struggle, and they kind of create tougher times, and
Yeah.
the cycle just perpetuates like that.
Right, yeah, 100%, yeah,
Yeah, so 22 years old, right? You get a job. Let's say you make 2 to 3K a month, right? That's not a lot of money, a lot of wiggle room, right? How much of that would you say you should invest, rather than and what avenues can you invest in?
I mean, obviously you got to put food in your plate and
Right.
survive that way and pay your rent, but I think you should be trying to actively invest the money or invest the money in a business, because right now you have such little assets.
Right.
Like $1,000 is a lot of money to someone with very little,
Sure.
but
That's 25% of
but
the
it's
yeah.
like a nothing to
Yeah.
someone who's really making money. So,
Right.
like the bigger risk is you not taking any risk, and then like you'll never get out of your situation. I mean, the other path is like go into a career path, save money consistently,
Yeah.
and then in the long term, like because of time and compounding, you're going to have money over time. But if you really want to like get things done quicker, you have to take that money that you're saving and reinvest it, and then invest it like either again into a business that you think is going to return something well, or
Via stocks.
yeah, via stocks, or some people espouse real estate. There's 100 million
Social media.
opinions. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But the point is that like thinking about, okay, I'm going to save my $1,000 and I'm going to put it in the bank and I feel like I'm doing a good job. Yeah, but you should be taking the money and like actually investing it into something. Otherwise,
Right.
it's not doing a whole lot for you.
Yeah.
Compounding. I mean, your cash is just going to be eaten away by inflation. If
Right.
the last 4 years is any,
Shoebox money.
yeah, it's just like literally so much value has been lost just in the last 4 or 5 years for people who had cash.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like should just be very apparent that you need to like actually take the money, invest it into something else.
Yeah, and that's something I learned from you. Being from a parent of an immigrant, I was very like I was raised off shoebox money. Live under your means, just save, save, save. As long as that money is going up in your bank account and you're bringing in more than you put out, like you're gonna get there somehow. But now in 2025, there are so many avenues that you can invest in. For me, I always try to tell people that $1,000, right? How you invest it, there is no one way for that. It could be social media, business, but it could also be within yourself. Like for me, I'm skill based, right? I have there's if you want to learn a certain trade or talent, I think that's also a good investment
Yeah,
too.
I think that's a good point, because that's what I was gonna say is like when you're early on 20s, you said early 20s, I think you should be building some sort of skill set,
Yeah, some kind of
or
skill
some
set.
sort of network.
Right. Try to figure out how you can become the fountain.
Yeah, exactly. Because like if you don't have any skills, you're gonna. I mean, especially in the future with all this AI stuff coming out, we're going into a period of like it's gonna be hyper competitive.
Oh, yeah.
There's gonna be less probably jobs, even in the skilled jobs.
Yeah, 100%.
And then so you got to have a skill set. You got to have some sort of like knowledge in a niche area that not everyone has. And then be able to capitalize on that, I think.
Yeah, I agree, because you said when you're like making 2, 3, 4,000 a month, and like 1,000 after your rent, after your lifestyle, it doesn't leave you a lot of wiggle room, right? And $1,000 in seed funding for like a business or as an investment it may not yield as much as you may want at that moment. But if
Right.
you take that $1,000 and you try to learn, rather that be photography,
Yeah.
rather that be whatever skill that you want to learn, like that investment will compound in itself.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's always a good option
Yes,
too.
that's what I did early on. Is I invested in advanced designations in my field. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I spent a lot of money early on in my early 20s, and now it's paying off. Not that I use all that stuff all the time, but it's just it taught me the discipline. It taught me like a bigger repertoire of financial language and
Yeah.
how to think about things. So
Sure.
yeah, you just
and it's
have
paid
to.
off, man, for sure. Like anytime I have any type of finance question, I definitely reach out to Cole. And what do you think from you being early 30s, right, and from your 20s? Generally speaking, what do you think is the biggest mind switch between how you think about money from 20s to 30s?
I think again, 20s, you should be building up the skill set, trying to figure out what you actually want. I think a lot of people don't know what they want to do in their 20s, so go out and like try and figure out what you want to do and spend money to like learn
Sure.
and experiment. But once you're in your early 30s, I think you should at least kind of know what direction you want to go.
You should be doing it.
And
right?
yeah, exactly. You should be taking action to
Yeah,
do it. And you have a lot of energy
right.
and like, like coast, like people, again, people want everything so
So
quickly,
quickly nowadays too with social
but
media.
it's like you might live till you're 100. That's what they're projecting on, with some of these innovations in healthcare. So 30, we still got a long time. So I think it's easy to want it all immediately, but I think again, 30s you should be like starting to take action, formulate plans on whether it's okay. Now is the time to really start my own business, or now is the time to go full on in onto this, subject that I've now interested in
Yeah.
and really go after it,
Hmm.
and then by the time you're in your 40s, you should be hitting your stride in
Yeah.
terms of, you spent a lot of time in that industry.
That's
So
right.
thankfully for me, like I started in the industry I'm in when I was in my 20s, and I
Yeah.
just happened to like it, so I stayed in it. So now
Right.
I'm like 12 years in, and it's now I'm like a veteran in the
Yeah.
industry. Not
Right.
even, I mean, not an old guy, but I've been in it for a long enough time to really kind of like know the ropes now.
Right.
So
Right.
now
Right.
I'm like,
And what a blessing, man.
yeah,
Because a lot of people, at least for me, 20s were my trial, and you know me. They're my like trials and failures, like, but you have that freedom in your 20s. I think 20s are the years you experiment. You run into some walls, scrape
yeah,
your
totally,
knees, make the mistakes, and in 30s execute, right? 30s is when you should be executing. But I think the biggest mind switch that I think a lot of people should try to make that change for when you're in their 30s, because I still see people in our 30s with a 20-year-old mindset.
yeah,
20s, you're thinking about your lifestyle. You want to get lit. You're
yeah,
trying to figure. You know what I mean? Like you said, like you want quick affirmations. You want quick results. It doesn't work like that. Wealth is a lifestyle, it's a mindset, like you said. I think at 20s, you're so focused on how the outside world perceives you, right? And I think if I can go back to my 20s, or at least I can speak to myself in my 20s, I would tell myself to think more long term,
yeah,
right? Like you said, like people, we're expecting to live 100 years, maybe not. You know what I'm saying?
right,
But
exactly,
but that maybe, that 50% maybe, is like you should be prepared for that. You know
yep,
what I mean? The storm is definitely coming, and it takes infrastructure to deal with those storms. And I think at 20s, bro, it's very narrow minded. It's
yeah,
very like, yo, I don't care. I just want girls. I want whatever the case
right,
is,
right, right,
right?
yeah. It's a very emotional mindset still, I think, and I don't know. I think as in my early 20s, that's when I started to really start to read more. Was in my early 20s, and I think I've just kept doing it ever since. So now I'm like, oh wow, there's so much knowledge. So I think if you start to like expand your vocabulary and just like your understanding of the world with reading, I think,
That's another investment.
yeah,
Books,
exactly.
getting
Books is
books.
books is really huge. I
Yeah,
think if the people who were bookworms in high school and before, I mean, they were usually pretty well off
right.
when they're older. So I think that's a big investment too. Is just
Hmm.
start diligently reading.
Yeah,
I think we were talking about someone, I guess, getting started in their early 20s about what we were talking about, which path, I guess, they
yeah.
would go on. I kind of lost my train of thought of what we were talking about.
Like just a blueprint, like any advice, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I
I mean,
mean,
I can give you a hypothetical scenario too, right? Just to make it easy. So let's say this person has, like, he can invest $100 a month from their income. They're at like early 20s.
mhm.
How would you allocate that $100?
I mean, it's a loaded question.
Yeah.
But I think if you're only able to save a few $100 a month, again, it seems like a lot of money for you, but it's not a lot of money in the sense of,
Yeah.
like even if you're investing in stocks, okay, you make 100% on your stock, now you have $200,
Yeah.
like great, But I think, people should be taking that money and trying to figure out what other skill set
Hmm.
that's going to maybe compound quicker
Right.
than the stock market will initially,
Right.
or figure out, okay, I can go and
I mean, but at the very least, if they know nothing else about finance, or even what direction or what skill set to invest in, you have like things like like fixed income, CD, bonds, right?
oh, it just you
Yeah,
mean like
U.S.
just
Treasury.
something to hold it into?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
because like,
start
I'm trying to give them a
know.
better solution than like what I did, and just put it in a Bank of America and
Oh, okay.
not look at it.
Well, then, yeah, then I mean, start a brokerage account. Go to Robinhood or Schwab or Fidelity or one of those companies and open up a brokerage account and put money in it, at least in the money market. But you could put it in the S&P 500 in an ETF,
Right.
something like simple
Right.
and a basket of stocks, and that would,
100 turns to 2, 2 turns to 4.
yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
like if I would have just been doing that in my 20s,
Yeah.
I would be
I
way
would be in a
better
whole
off.
different
Yeah,
situation.
totally.
Dude, I
So
started investing. I mean, you had a huge influence on that. I started investing at like 28, bro.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? I mean, don't get me wrong. I had my like life insurance thing, whatever, but I wasn't really like looking over the portfolio and like choosing my investments. You know what I'm saying?
right, right.
But yeah, I think okay, that's good. What do you think is the biggest misconception about money? And how important is money to you?
I mean, misconception. I mean, I don't know if people think it's easy to get, but I think with social media, people think it's just like there's all these people out there that are just loaded,
Yeah.
and like I think there's levels to it.
Sure.
Like we meet some super wealthy people and they're just as aggressive as people without a lot of money, or vice versa. They're way more conservative. Like everyone's personality is different. I think the way I view money is more of like a tool to afford the lifestyle that you want to live, and that comes down to more personal choices, like philosophical choices
Right,
of
sure.
like, I think this is always a good transition of like, well, what do you, I ask people this all the time, like how do you want to live your life? Like what do you want at the end of the day? Do you want to live in some huge mansion that's in a super nice part of town and it's $20 million house, or are you okay living in a small house like on the beach,
Right.
somewhere, or what do you want, And I think that's personal for a lot of people.
Uh-huh.
People need to like come to terms of what I guess makes them happier, because our time on the planet is so finite. I said, yeah, we might live to 100, but you can also
Die tomorrow.
die tomorrow.
Die
So
tomorrow,
it's
right.
yeah, it's one of those things where you try and be present, I guess.
Yeah.
And money is a tool to like live in the present and go out and enjoy whatever you're doing, whether you're at a restaurant and you want to eat something good, or you want to buy a nice car, you want to enjoy that, or you want to have a nice house. Like you're living in the moment presently, and you're enjoying the fruits of your labor, which again, we're fortunate here in the U.S. because we don't ever have to worry about wars. But
Right.
in other parts of the world, things change very quickly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like those people in Ukraine, for example. Like a few years, 10 years ago, depending on where you were, it was peaceful. Now the country is like war torn in certain
Yeah.
parts of the country, and like
Gaza.
I doubt people were exactly. I doubt those people were expecting that,
Yeah.
and now their whole situation is different. So,
Right.
I think you just got to like realize that, like you might have some plan, and that plan might shift very rapidly. So you have to constantly remind yourself that, like, as long as you're doing better than you were yesterday
Yeah.
or a year ago, I think that's the way to go about life. That's better.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree so
hey,
too.
am I, did I try harder, or did I learn something different than
Right.
am I changed personally,
You're right.
than I was a year ago,
Right.
or whatever.
And a lot of ways that doesn't even have to do anything with money, right?
No.
It doesn't. It's not necessarily a number,
No.
right? Like, I guess my question is, do you think money or fulfillment is more important?
Well, I think, okay, back to misconception. I think people think that money will buy you happiness.
Right.
And that's like, everyone says this, it's so cliche. But no, definitely not. Like, work with crazy rich people all the time, definitely not happy. People
Really?
that I work for, definitely not happy, and you're just, it's not like,
Are you happy?
yeah, I mean, like, look, I think happiness is like, we don't have to be happy all the time.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Who the
happy.
fuck wants to be happy all the time?
Well, yeah, happiness is like it's like a fluctuating thing. It's
Yeah.
like temporary.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like everything in your life changes and is temporary. So I think at certain times you're going to be happy. When you buy a brand new car, you're like, woohoo, you're happy. And a month goes by and you've driven it a bunch of times and you're like, it doesn't excite you as much.
Right.
Or like, you hit it big in some trade, great. You're happy for that small amount of time. And I think that's the problem, is people seek out that pleasure dopamine hit, and then it dissipates, and then they seek it again. And
Yeah.
sometimes people
And it
get,
becomes insatiable.
yeah, exactly. Some people, they have different vices or whatever, but I think that comes back to like, looking at yourself, and again, just keeping things in check, that like, hey, I got to live present. I got to enjoy the small things. I got to, like, again, like realize that I'm here for a finite period of time, and I'm, as you know, I'm a big philosophical guy. So go read Meditations.
Yeah.
There's a lot of value in that book.
Yeah.
If you're, so
Meditation by Marcus Aurelius.
yeah.
Yeah, do you think money is difficult to get?
How much money are we talking? Like a lot, like $1 billion. Yes. Getting $10,000, $20,000. I mean, I don't really think it's that hard in today's world, depending on if you know the right skill set,
Right.
So, becoming a millionaire, I think, is the hardest part is getting the first million. But
And then it
once you
starts to
start to,
yeah.
it starts to compound
Yeah.
and
Because as you hit that million, your network begins to change.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People want to start collaborating with you more
Yep.
and working with you more. You're right.
Right.
I agree
Well,
with
and then
that.
once you have like,
And then when you have liquid to play with,
yeah,
then it
if
just,
you have $1
boom.
million
Yeah,
and then
volume.
you make 10%, then
Yeah.
you made $100,000. So
Right.
it's just like it's a lot more.
Yeah, I think that first and then
Yeah.
you can kind of go.
Yeah. And like there's tons of studies on that too, like
Yeah.
of just showing that the build up periods takes the longest. It's just kind of like slow, and
Right.
then it becomes
See,
more,
that's the thing. Like, that's why you can't fuck up that M. People
Yeah.
look at the M and be like, I'm straight. Dude, $1 million, bro. We could run through $1 million in a month. Or not even a month, a day.
Yeah.
Really, if we really wanted to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's why like sound money management is very important, because taking steps back is what really hurts a lot of people.
Mm.
Like they make a lot of money, and then they take a huge step back. And it's one thing to be taking a step back because you're risking the capital to make way more.
Right.
But like if you're just going out there and buying BS
Yeah.
stuff, brand new clothes and brand new cars, and it's above your true wealth level.
Yeah.
Well, then that's going to set you back. You know
Right.
what I mean, in terms of putting productive.
And I think that goes
Money to
back
work.
to your point of like wealth being a mindset.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like that's a rich mentality.
Right.
Right?
Yeah,
Trying to
yeah,
just get
yeah.
rich, keep up with the Jones.
Yeah.
Wealth mentality is about maintaining, right? Longevity.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it's also the mentality that, hey, like I'm living present, Cole, like you said, and I could be dead, so I might as well enjoy my money. So I think there's that balance.
Yeah, I
of
mean,
y-
100%. Like,
you know.
I'm with that too. And like, dude, everyone, it's your money. Do what you want to do with
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I think there's there's irresponsible decisions.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, I don't know. Like, does getting $1 million, I mean, like a $500,000 car when you have $1 million liquid,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
is that is that really living in the moment, or is that just irresponsible? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, there's a balance though. Sure.
Yeah.
You got to enjoy your life. You got to do that makes you happy. That makes you
I think if you worked really hard for most of your life and you've been super disciplined, and then, you reward yourself in your 30s with a nice car or something like that, enjoy it. You know
Enjoy
what
it,
I mean?
absolutely,
Like you're
enjoy it.
only going to be 30s with a nice car
Young,
so many
thriving.
times, you know
Exactly,
what I mean?
one
So
time.
like you only get older.
Yeah.
So
This might be kind of like a dumb question for you since you're so like not emotional. Do you think is money something you chase or you attract?
I mean, I think it's like earned by your discipline and your hard work, depending on the, avenue that you chose to pursue. It's just like I think it's a function of your ability to go out there and solve problems and provide value to solve other people's problems, right? So like, if you're solving a big problem, you're gonna get paid more money.
Yeah.
If you're solving very tiny problems, you don't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like if you're just delivering food to someone,
Yeah.
that problem is so small.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and a
That
lot
anyone
of,
can do-
and anyone
solve
can
that.
do it, right?
Yeah.
You know what I
Right.
mean? But if you're solving like, a big, like you're trying to send a thing into space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like how many people know how to do that?
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's a big problem, and you're
Requires a
solving
big
it.
solution.
Yeah. So you're going to be compensated for
Yeah.
that most likely, assuming there's some, reward at the end of the tunnel. Like in my business, it's, you're solving the problem of people's wealth and everyone's concerned about it,
Mm-hmm.
and you happen to make money off of, other people's money. So it's
Right.
a good business to be in.
Right.
But the problem, I mean, in my industry, there's no like barrier to entry necessarily. It's
Right.
just the problems that you can solve become bigger the more knowledge base you have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like for me, I'm trying to solve bigger problems,
Mm-hmm.
I guess you would say.
For me, I think most people chase money, but I think money. I think you actually attract it. Like you just said, I think you said it's a byproduct of your discipline and the right decisions you make, depending on what vehicle you're in, right? Like, if you have that mentality of I'm just gonna solve problems, I'm gonna be disciplined, I'm gonna be consistent, and I'm gonna be persistent in my pursuits, then money actually just naturally comes. But when you're trying to chase, then you're constantly trying to solve many problems, but
Yeah.
a frequent amount of those little problems,
Yeah, yeah.
and that becomes the issue. That leads to
Well, I
burnout.
think like gambling is like chasing money. You
Yeah,
know,
that's
I
what.
mean,
Right,
like
right,
like gambling is a money chasing mentality
right.
because it's a quick hit. You think that it's going to keep happening and you're chasing that high. And sometimes you get lucky and it's great, but it's like the probabilities are not in your favor.
Right.
You know what I mean? Whereas if you're just out there looking to solve bigger and bigger problems, at some point the money will come to you
Right.
because you're solving these big problems. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? So if you constantly make that a focus, less so about like, oh, I'm doing it because I know I'm going to make $1 million or whatever. You know, that to me is, yeah, that's going to be a byproduct if you're solving a big problem. You know what
Sure.
I mean? Like, you know, be a savvy business person to work yourself into the payout, you know,
Right.
but that shouldn't be like why you're, that shouldn't get you out of bed. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
I think like,
100%.
you know, like that's another thing about money. Again, that's, the money doesn't necessarily make you happy. It's got to be some bigger
Yeah.
purpose. So for me, I've always tried to be a problem solver because
Yeah.
to me, like that to me is gives me more purpose in
More
my life.
fulfillment.
Yeah, exactly. Like I feel like I'm helping
Yeah.
someone do something. You know what I mean? I'm helping like this issue that they didn't know how to do. I know how to do
Yeah.
it, and I can help them with it. And that to me gives me more satisfaction than like, oh yeah, I made 10 grand off of that
Yeah.
thing that I just did, but I don't even really think about it. I'm
Yeah.
not
Sure.
like, you know, oh
It just not. It was a byproduct of that.
yeah, yeah,
You know, that's a tricky thing about money. That's what makes money such an interesting topic because, I mean, it's unquestionable that like this is a necessary product of life, right? You need it's a tool. Like you absolutely need is water. Actually, it's not a tool. Is mandatory,
yeah,
right, for life, but it can't define your existence,
right.
right? And you know, especially in the United States, you know,
Oh yeah,
is really like we're kind of institutionalized for it to kind of be the bane of our existence.
right.
Of like, you know, a lot of people value their relationships, the people, or even themselves. Of how much money have you created and accumulated, and
Right.
that's how you kind of value people around you and yourself. But I think, you know, like you said, fulfillment is more important than money. But it's difficult because money is a necessary,
Yeah.
you know what I mean,
Well, I
aspect
think
of life.
you know, if you get to a point where you know you can go to the store and buy the food that you want, and you have a roof over your head, and you have a car that drives, and you know you have a girlfriend or a family or a wife or whatever. You know, that's like solving 90% of most human needs right
See,
there. You
no,
know what
but
I
Cole,
mean?
I
Like,
love that you say that, bro, because like they don't know, but I know you're way past that point. But the fact that you haven't even lost sight of that, like I'm trying to tap into that mentality.
yeah,
You're around so much money, you're around so much success, and you're literally seeing the numbers. It's one thing to have like I have a network of people that are really big and stuff, but I'm not looking at their actual wealth.
right, right.
You're constantly touching the wealth and playing, seeing how much it yields and accrues. How have you been able to kind of have that wisdom of like, look, I have a roof over my head, I have food that I want, and I don't need to question that. I'm happy. That's good. Like, how have you not veered away from that?
I mean, at certain times, I think you yeah, you could become envious of other people, but I don't think it's a very good like, you know, it's a, I don't know. It doesn't. You have no control over that part. All you have control over is the actions you're taking, and like how you're day to day thinking about whatever interaction you're going through, right?
Right.
Whatever problem that you conceive, it's just your impression of it, right? So I think, you know, when you're around money all the time and you're seeing it all the time, you're like, wow, yeah, there's like so many avenues to like make a lot of money, and I meet tons of interesting people. So, but yeah, I try and ground myself in the sense of like, hey, yeah, I could, you know, I could be gone, and 3 years ago, the life I'm living now, I could only wish I was living that lifestyle 3 years ago.
That's
You
right.
know what I mean?
That's right.
So, like, that's how you got to kind of put it sometimes for yourself.
100%. And
You
I
know?
think that is that's success right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The amount of money that you're able to accumulate is like, sure, whatever. That's your livelihood. That's your battery. Whatever you want to call it, your health line, lifeline. But true success is like gratitude,
Yeah,
right?
totally. Yeah.
Gratitude, understanding at the same time. Like, of course, you can be you know, you can be motivated to do more, reach your full potential. I'm all for that. You know, I'm a hustler, but at the same time, also understanding how much you've already been given, how much you've
Yeah.
already accomplished, and being grateful for that. Not constantly coveting, wanting more.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's like, then before you know it, dude, your life has passed behind you. You've never really appreciated.
Well,
You know what I mean?
like, you deal with some high level artists and athletes, and you see wealth that's been generated at a really young age, and like kind of the almost like dystopian mentality some of them get, like where it's like, I have all this money and I don't know what else to do with it, and there's like, what else is there to life almost, and they like start to question like, what else is there? Like they've already achieved all
Exactly.
the sensations
Right.
of short like material
Right.
things, you know what I mean? And
Like
like,
honestly, like sitting in the middle of a fucking forest
yeah,
and just
exactly.
like, you
No,
know,
I
watching
mean
the
that
sunset and
I
just
I
having a
honestly
conversation.
prefer that stuff more than I like to go to some nice club or
Nobu
some,
or
yeah,
something.
like I this doesn't really, I don't really enjoy that as much. I'd
Right.
rather just sit at the beach in the sun. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like it's way more peaceful. So,
See, and I think that's really strong because, like, for you to say that, Cole, because you know, it's easy when someone's like, I don't say homeless, but like doesn't have the resources to enjoy those nice things like Nobu and stuff like
yeah.
that, and to be like, no, sitting at the beach is great. But for someone who's around so much wealth, for you to still say that, it's like there's some, you know what I mean? There's some actual credibility there. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, are there any kind of patterns that you've noticed with like your high net worth clients?
I mean,
Social patterns, whatever
yeah,
it
I
may be.
think some of them are like definitely some of them are still in that mentality of like they still haven't made it or they don't have enough and they're constantly worrying about things. I think the previous generations, because I work with a lot of older clients too, and like their generation was more of like a preservation generation where
Right.
like some of their parents had been living through huge
Wars,
wars or
exactly.
depressions,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah,
it was ingrained in them to save and like
yeah.
be frugal and
Right.
like,
The storm is coming.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Fear
So a
based.
lot of them are,
Yeah.
exactly. So a lot of them are like very cautious and like they're very,
Hmm.
but
It's never enough.
they've been able to accrue a
Hmm.
lot of money, but they're not big spenders. A lot of them either,
Hmm.
you know.
Which is fine.
Whereas like I think
Yeah.
the newer generations tend to be more spending
Yeah.
and want to travel more and do more stuff, which is a good thing. I think, I think it's like, what's the point of all this wealth? We're all going to give it back anyway.
Yeah.
It's all temporary.
Can't take any of it with you.
No, like all.
And you know, one thing you've told me just personally between you and I, like I remember, you know, a lot of times when you talk about like, you know, your work and the people that you do work with, it's like it seems to me that like the people you respect the most is people who have a high net worth, but they're also very grounded too.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? They aren't so stingy. They aren't so
yeah,
like lost in the matrix of like, no, I need more. I need more.
yeah,
Right? And like that to me is a huge red flag of like, okay, you know, you could be rich, but you know, the next level of true success is also like a spiritual thing as well, where you're like,
yeah,
you're treating people with kindness. There's still humility to the individual.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
despite all the tangible things that he's, you know, achieved.
Yeah, I think you know the people who are generous with their money and generous with their time, and even though they've made it, like those people, I think are really good people to emulate
Yeah.
because they realize like, hey, I have all this money, and like if I can't spend it all. So if I don't help bring other people up or give it back, or they almost seem like they get more joy out of gifting it away and seeing the reaction
Yeah.
of other people, which I think is kind of like that's how probably if I ever have tons and tons of money, that's probably going to be my mentality
A
too.
hundred
More of
percent.
like
Man, I don't got shit, and I'm already have the
yeah,
mentality.
like more of a teaching
Yeah.
mentality. You know what I
I
mean?
mean, man, you got to pay it forward.
Yeah,
What are
yeah,
we gonna do with all this? Just consume it?
yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? It's like how many
It's
steaks
like,
can you eat?
dude, at a certain point, you know, like Tony Robbins talks about this, right? He says at your 60s and 70s, you know, granted that you've played your cards, right? And you're at the pinnacle of your success. You have everything that you've ever wanted. You've had every like fancy little trinket, shiny little toy. The next level of happiness is giving.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
It's philanthropy. It's kind of just like building other people up, mentorship. You know what I mean? Pouring life into other people.
Right.
Because at a certain age, you start to see the exits closer than the entrance.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then at what then? What is your mark gonna be? You know?
Yeah. Exactly. Right. And
Would-
like
That's a good segue. If you could name 5 personality characteristics of a successful individual, and success, however you may define it, what are 5 characteristics that you see in successful people, or you deem successful?
maybe I'll give you like a five. Five is quite a bit.
Okay,
Maybe,
how about 3?
maybe like
Top
3.
3.
Yeah.
Let's do 3.
Definitely disciplined. I don't think it's necessarily like getting a big home run one time. It's just about taking consistent action it's like going to the gym. If you
That's
want to
right.
have like a good body, you have to like earn it by being disciplined.
Show up
You
every
know what
day.
I mean? Yeah, you have to just. It's not about doing the hardest workout
One time.
one time. It's about just being consistent. And I think that's the
That's right.
same thing with your work. It's just like over time, there's a compounding effect, and staying disciplined and not being sidetracked. And I think that's difficult for a lot of people.
Right.
I think another key to success is, again, like taking care of the people that work with you
Yeah.
and like the trying to build a more of a team, because I think the most successful companies and the most successful people, they have teams of people, you know what I mean? And like you in your whatever line of work, you're competing with against other teams. And there's teams of killers out there who all have the same mindset.
That's right.
And 5 of these guys are going to do more work than just you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I think you got to build a team of people around you who have a similar
How would you
mindset.
define that in a characteristic, though? What would the word be?
Well, I think like how do you keep a team happy is like being generous to your people, like being
Sure.
I wouldn't say, I guess, yeah, charitable, generous.
Abundant.
Yeah, like I guess trying to be a servant leader.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you almost have to not only lead from the front, but you're kind of like the last one to eat.
That's right.
You
That's
know what I
right.
mean?
That
Like
100%.
so.
The boss always eats last.
Yeah.
The team got to go first.
So I think having that, a lot of successful people have that.
Damn, these are good. What's your last one?
Yeah, and I think the last one, discipline. That one. I mean, just also, being healthy yourself. Like living a healthy lifestyle
Shit.
physically.
I didn't even think of that.
You
That is
know.
the number one.
Yeah,
You can have every
exactly.
problem in the world. Your health goal is that's your only problem.
Well, that's the thing, and like healthy and like
Fuck.
super successful people have gone. Like Steve Jobs, for example, guy was literally like on top of the world, got cancer, died.
Did
That's
you
what
ever
happens.
see his last email to himself a year before he died? He was
I
he
don't
was in
think so.
hospice or something like that. He wrote himself an email. He
Oh, yeah.
drafted an email, and it's so crazy. He signs it with sent by iPad, sent from iPad. What a flex, right?
Yeah.
But he basically was acknowledging, like, the greatness of the human species. Basically,
Yeah.
he was like, a lot of the music that I listen to, I did not create, right? The clothes that I wear, I did not make. The language that I speak, I did not, make. And he was just talking about, and then me, and then also my company, myself, right? All the iPhone, I did not create that.
Yeah.
And he was just kind of acknowledging how amazing the human species was.
Yeah, yeah.
And I thought that was super cool.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, being appreciative for all the previous work everyone else did to put you in the position you're in. But yeah, I mean, I think health wise, like physically staying active, staying healthy, eating healthy, it just keeps your mind sharper, and it keeps you focused on whatever your other mission is. But it's like we've had this conversation about when dudes are on their deathbed, they're not like, oh, glad I closed one more deal that one time. You know what I mean? They're like, their only concern is to either be healthy or their family, or
I wish I
it's-
smiled more.
Yeah,
Laughed more,
exactly.
yeah.
It's like more
That's right.
stuff around that. It's
That's
not so
right.
much about like, even when you talk to really old people, in their 80s and 90s, who really, like you said, see the kind of exit near, they're not so concerned about monetary stuff. They're
No.
not concerned about trading. They're not concerned about really none of
Or
that
even the stuff they have.
Yeah, they're just exactly. They're not so concerned about any really thing material.
And what does
They
that
just-
tell you? It's like if you can adopt that mentality when you're younger,
Exactly.
you
yeah,
know what I mean?
that's
You're gonna
why
be so much ahead of the ball.
Exactly. So I think it'll just make you a happier person going
Yeah.
about life, and you just have to kind of go back and check yourself and remind yourself. That's the hardest part about all this. Is like,
Oh, yeah.
everyone knows all this stuff. It's just like they don't constantly
Embody
feed
it.
it back to themselves.
That's right.
They don't like read enough. They don't like remind themselves these things. That's why I bring up meditations. Meditations was his journal, his personal journal that he didn't share with anybody. He just kept reading it back to himself and writing new things down in his journal,
Yeah.
and then would reread it. So,
Right.
and then you read it and you're like, wow, this is so much good stuff in here. Why didn't you share this?
Right.
He until he died.
Right.
So, I think that's a big thing that I think, those 3 things I would say, yeah, discipline, servant leader mentality, and then, your physical health. If you do those 3 things, then I think the wealth and success will come to you.
Yeah.
More than likely.
I mean, Dan, those are great, bro. I was gonna add in my personal three, but those are like pretty much spot on. What I would say too. I would add God in there. God,
Yeah.
but then being service based is also being faith based as well.
Yeah.
Understand? Like Jesus changed the world by being a servant. He
Right.
washed feet. He walked with he walked with prostitutes. Like having a serving mind. I think that's a leading mind actually. If you're here to serve and solve problems, and a true boss, I feel like a true successful individual, listens to their team and says, what is your final goal and what is your mission in your life? I help you get there.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like if you're gonna be on my team, you're gonna be a killer for me. It's like it's my job, and I have to take accountability on that commitment, and that loyalty as well.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
I think.
Like, A true leader takes account of like what their teammates want out of their life too. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
they prioritize that in their own life too.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
take responsibility for that.
Yeah. Again, I mean, and there's a million different ways to look at leadership too, and all that. I mean, a good book on leadership is BE Entrepreneurial 2.0. Great
Yeah,
book.
could you give us like maybe a few books that you would recommend people to read?
Yeah,
This is one for me too.
Sure.
Besides Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah, Meditations, Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah.
If you want more Stoicism, read Epictetus. That's another good one. Then you got, I mean, for an entrepreneurial mindset, like a business mindset, BE Entrepreneurial 2.0. I forgot who the author is. I could tell you, but just look up BE Entrepreneurial 2.0. That's a good one. What are other good, like, you want more business books?
Whatever that you feel like would serve the mind for success.
Yeah. If you want like investment books, I think like One Up on Wall Street is a good book by Peter Lynch. Just very simple,
And
basic.
did that teach you about like the logos of like trading, of investing?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some.
Because there's no actual blueprint of how to invest.
Yeah, I mean,
Companies
like
are always
he's
trading.
telling you about his view on it, and I think it's just like a good
It's a perspective.
take from a retail person's perspective. Like, it's like, hey, there's all these things that you're doing in your day-to-day life that you know about that are trends, and sometimes all you got to do is buy a good company in that area and just hold on to it.
Yeah, and just
you
be
know?
cognizant of those trends.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you find
Right.
yourself consuming? What
Yeah.
do you find yourself like gravitating to?
Yeah,
Yeah, 100%.
exactly, yeah. So, I mean, there's some good stuff in there. Other books. I mean, I think, go read the Bible once in a while.
Yeah,
you know
the
what I mean?
Bible,
Like,
100%.
go read something religious.
Yeah,
I mean,
read the Bible, man.
get you away from thinking about money all the time and
Right.
business 24/7 and
I love. Actually, I did not think that our conversation would naturally transition into this, but I love that it did because like I wanted this to be kind of more value based on like how to motivate people and also what I mean, just breed more success. You know what I'm saying? But I love how we like started with money, and now we're talking about life and happiness and gratitude.
well, I think it's a natural flow because like money is a tool and people start to confuse that tool as like the end
And
goal.
end all be all.
But you're like, wait a second, no. This is just a tool so you can live
Yeah.
comfortably, so you can,
Be happy.
Yeah, so you can enjoy
Yeah.
and like
Money
worry-
itself is not the happiness.
No,
No.
definitely not. I
Yeah.
mean, again, like that's, I don't know how cliche that is, where so many people know that. Obviously, it's like you're gonna live way more comfortably if you have money. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but but it doesn't need to be one or the other. I
Yeah.
realize this. It's like if you actually embody the spirit of gratitude and just understanding, like, dude, just a simple walk in the park with good weather,
Yeah.
it makes me happy. You actually attract more successful people. You'll attract a higher frequency of individuals. Your conversations, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
because I used to think like, okay, yeah, I understand money's not the end all be all, but let me get it first. Get my security line, and then I can be kumbaya.
Yeah.
No, actually, you can be like that even with the scarcity, because that's an abundant mentality, which
Yeah.
will actually produce more.
Well, I
You
think
know
if
what I
you
mean?
if you constantly have money as your mindset too, then when you interact with other people, they kind of like
It's transactional.
Yeah, it becomes less. It becomes more exactly transactional. Like people kind of
Feel
smell
that.
that they want. Yeah, they
Yeah.
could feel that you're you have some underlying intention.
Yeah, you know, and
You
that's
know.
something like I'm still working on that, and I never do it intentionally. But as a freelancer, I'm so used to hunting.
I mean,
But early in my 20s, man,
yeah, I was gonna say I did that. I definitely did that myself early in my 20s when I started my sales career.
Yeah.
People used to tell me like, "Are we just hanging out because you want to sell me something?" And I'm like,
you were definitely that.
I was definitely like that, 100%. You know what I mean?
You was like,
And,
look,
like,
man, I'm trying to close.
yeah. And I'm not,
Yeah, see,
now I look back at it, I'm like, geez, I was a savage.
see,
I was
cool.
like,
That's what like I'm trying to give
don't
to.
do that.
Yeah, do not do that. That's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to give, right? I'm like, this is basically a conversation, bro, like a time capsule. If our younger selves can see that,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
very transactional in my relationships. I was very transactional with my time.
Totally.
A true successful person is abundant in every aspect. I mean, that doesn't mean go fucking waste your time and entertain everything that comes your way.
Yeah.
But move with love, move with grace, move with a levity with you. Things will happen if you're not constantly worrying about like, am I gonna get money out of this, or what is my benefit from this?
Yeah.
If you again thinking of how can I be more service based and like serve and provide value or possibly a solution to a problem,
Yeah, exactly.
that itself will bring more.
Oh, totally. Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And like, and that's with life in general.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with money. In everything, do all your relationships, and you know what I mean. If you can move with more love and try to just really be present. Like, what is this person actually saying to me? Like, rather than just hearing, actually truly listen.
Right.
You know what I mean? You'll better relationships.
Yeah, I think, yeah, definitely listening. I think when you're really young, you think you know it all.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like.
I mean, a little bit even in your 30s, right? Let's
yeah,
be
totally.
honest.
Yeah, 100%.
I still feel that way at
Yeah.
times too, and I try to
At all
stop
times,
myself.
You know, so
yeah.
listening.
I would definitely say in your 20s too, try your best to have as many conversations with older people. That's something I did at a very young age. I always hung out with older people, and that
Yep.
to this day I really prioritize that in my life.
Yeah, I also think learning how to say no is a very important thing to know.
20s is all yes.
Yeah, you just kind of say yes to everything.
20s are
You're just
all
like,
yes.
let's go party. Yes. Let's
Yeah.
go fucking do this thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do, and then
No.
that can get you with the wrong group of people doing the wrong stuff.
Burn out your bandwidth.
Yeah, exactly. It just like gets you do partying stuff, and then you don't have any energy to focus on the stuff that you should be focusing
right.
on. So I mean, it's like you gotta learn how to say no, even no in the sense of business sometimes, of opportunities. Like
Yeah, not all
you know,
money's good
like
money.
not everything is something you have to pursue. I think as you get older, you start to value your time more.
You're
Like
right.
you start to be like, oh, I
Yeah.
don't have so much time in the day here, so I better.
See, that's why it's like trying to tackle, like, because I was thinking about having a conversation, sit down with you. I was like, damn, do I actually try to like dissect tangible blueprint, like in steps in investing? But I think it's more important that we actually focus on the mentality and tackle that.
Well, that's what I'm big on. I
Yeah.
again, like you
The
can't
mindset.
copy what I know
Yeah,
in a week.
and not only that, bro.
You
it's,
know what
it's
I
like,
mean?
we're
Like,
talking about
it's-
retail, bro. Companies fucking, what I mean? New companies open all the time, go public. Like you don't know what's gonna happen to a company.
No, yeah,
you can't
yeah.
control that, but it's the mindset.
Yeah.
There's like a blueprint to a mindset, though. I feel like.
Again, I think people when they ask me that kind of stuff, like, "What's the next hottest stock?"
How the
Cole?"
fuck do you know?
Yeah, well, to me, it's just again someone chasing money, like chasing some quick
Yeah.
hit of like they're gonna get this
Yeah.
tip and then they're gonna get rich.
Right.
You know what I mean? When in reality, it's like, no. Like if
Yeah.
you just switch your mindset up and switch your habits up and switch your actions up, you'll get rich.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's
like
right.
so. But that's hard. That's like way harder to do than me tell you buy one XYZ stock.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's
so
right.
people just want everything easy.
Damn. If there was one final piece of advice you can give, I mean, you've dropped so much good things, right? But like, or it doesn't have to be advice, or one final statement. What would it be?
Oh man. Let me think about this one.
I can start too.
Sure, you start.
Be healthy. Trust God.
Yeah, it's good. Good. Yeah, I think just definitely stay active and physically healthy, and just focus on being present and staying disciplined and providing value and problem solve for people. That's what I would kind of what we just talked about. But
I like it. Just summarizing everything up.
I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So I think and like happiness shouldn't always be your focus. I think it should be the pursuit of some passion or giving back and helping others, and you know, again, being a servant leader, charitable, that should be more of a frontal focus rather than trying to just always be happy all the time. Because I mean, there's so many people that are not happy all the time. Successful people are definitely not happy all the time.
Sure.
It's a lot of work. It's
Yeah.
a lot of like suffering, and life is a lot of suffering.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So you just have to be able to like cope with rewarding yourself and then suffering. It's like the happiness, you can't have the happiness. This is a good one to end on. You can't have the happiness without the suffering.
Absolutely.
I think that there's some interesting, I forgot if there were, I'm sure in every culture have these kind of axioms, but like happiness and suffering are kind of like two sides of the same coin.
100%.
You know.
I like that. Learn how to smile in the rain.
Yeah,
You know
like
what I
well, just to usually to get to that happy point, you had to suffer, you know,
Oh,
and then
100%,
like,
man. Suffering is an
and, like-
absolute. It is a requirement.
yeah,
To happiness.
yeah.
You
and then-
cannot achieve happiness without suffering,
Yeah.
without pain. You know what I'm saying? Because how can you what is happiness without the rain? How would you even be able to define happiness without pain?
Yeah.
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
Exactly.
How do you test resilience? What is discipline
Yeah.
if everything was just given to you? Discipline is literally like, trying to wake up every day even though you don't want to.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what discipline is.
But both are fleeting at all times.
Yeah.
So happiness, suffering, at some point it'll all be over either way.
Either way,
So-
no one's going to remember us.
Yeah, so we'll end on that.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Cole.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah.